there's no spies in here, right? We have a very advanced data system on, with our hockey analytics. That's the one that speaks to all of LA.
Right.
It had a moment in time in the 90s where it was the thing, right? And
I mean, hip hop music, you would see it everywhere.
I want to design some merch around it. He's like, I think we do some cool stuff. I was like, all right, cool, go for it. Awesome. I think we had 600 units and we brought it in and we were like, all right, cool, see how it does. Sold out before the first period. Hispanic fan base has gone from 16% to 41.
That's great.
Like, that's unbelievable growth.
That is great. Kelly, thanks for being here, man. Welcome to, actually, officially our episode 2 of Convo. So this is an idea that kind of been developing for a little while for us, and went from a concept of trying to bring thought leaders, different ideas to spark innovation for our team internally. And as we had these, we're like, what if we are a little bit more public about it, actually bring guests and start really pushing this out even as like thought leadership. So that was the whole genesis of how we got here, but I really appreciate you being here with us today.
Well, I'm honored to be here and being number 2 on the list.
Number 2.
I'm even more honored. So
there you go.
Thanks for having me.
By the way, first of all, I'm really glad we were able to work it out because I know you're in a pretty wild time right now for the Kings. So I want to maybe start with that. When you think about the NHL draft, how different, we just had the NBA draft last night.
Yep.
So I know the seasons tend to kind of mirror each other a little bit in terms of the regular season when it happens and even the draft. But maybe start with that. Tell me a little bit about how different is the draft for the NHL versus an NFL versus an NBA in terms of that player development cycle, how quickly they start playing, what are the different lanes you guys sort of look at, and just tell a little bit about the actual process you guys go through as operators for these teams to figure out, who are the right players for the team.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I got an hour to answer it, so we're
there we go. Perfect.
The NHL draft is special. It's these kids, entry point to being professional athletes and professional hockey players. They're drafted at 18, sometimes just below that, depending on the window. There's a birth date that they have to be.
They have to be 18 or drafted.
Sometimes that birth date is like close enough to 18 where sometimes you get a 17-year-old. Quentin Byfield was an example. He was actually the youngest 18-year-old drafted the year that we drafted him 2nd overall. I think it was by like a week. Mm-hmm. If he was a week younger, he would have had to go a whole nother year before he could get drafted.
Yeah.
So he's a good example where he was kind of a unicorn where he would have been projected to be the number 1 overall pick the next year.
Got it.
And because of his age range, we got him 2nd overall in that year. Mm-hmm. And, as an 18-year-old kid, young 18-year-old kid, 6'5", 235, nice. Like we were like, this kid's special, so we're going for him. So, the big difference with our draft is they are drafted at 18. Mm-hmm. In the NBA, they can be, right? We've saw more of that over the years. Yeah. Kobe was one of those, right, where they came out of high school. But generally, they come out of college when they're getting drafted.
At least 1 year right out of college, right?
Yeah. So, and NFL generally the same thing. Major League Baseball is closer, where the kids get drafted at 18 or have the potential to get drafted at 18. But generally, every kid in the NHL gets drafted at 18.
But is the expectation, because obviously, like in NFL, you could be drafted and be a starter.
Yeah.
You're playing like that. NBA. You could literally build an entire team around a kid that just got drafted.
Right.
What about hockey, though? I thought it was a little bit different in terms of what the expectation is for player development and when you start playing.
I mean, there's certainly stories, right? Like Connor McDavid's a great example. Mm-hmm. Those are unicorn kids that, sometimes there might be 3-4 in a year in the first round that make the NHL team that year and are big impact players.
Right.
For the most part, the kids go into the development cycle. Usually when they're 18, if they don't make the NHL club, they're not going to go to the AHL, which is our minor league system. That's like our AAA league. They'll go back to juniors or to college. And they'll be eligible for another 2 years at that age range, where we have to sign them to become pros. And they can go back to their development cycle in the Canadian junior leagues or in Europe or with us, or at college. and then by the time they're 20, we have to sign them to become pros.
Got it.
So, it's just a different cycle of the development. Traditionally, the Los Angeles Kings are very good at drafting and very good at developing. And, the successful teams do that. They have a strong core of draft and development, and then you can add through free agency and trade and build your team around that. But, in Los Angeles, it's a little bit different to recruit free agents to come here. And traditionally, I think, if you look at almost 60 years of history of the Kings, like we haven't been great at getting free agents, but we've been excellent at drafting, developing, keeping, retaining.
And why is free agency more challenging for the Kings?
I think it's hard to get people to understand LA. we're all from LA, or we've come to LA, and we get it. Like we love it. We know what it's about. But when you see the news of LA from Sweden or from, it's different culturally. It's scary, or it's too big, or it's different. So we've struggled with that over the years. But when they get here and they realize that, they're in Manhattan Beach in the South Bay, and their commute to El Segundo, the practice facility, like they see it, they're like, oh, this is awesome. This is kind of like Canada. So they're good with that. So, and that's why we retain. We have a lot of players that have played here for a large majority of their career. Anze Kopitar, Dustin Brown, those athletes, it's rare that they're at a
but that's
team.
really a little bit of testament towards like the culture as well of the team, right? I mean, once people here want to stay here, that's good. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's always our mission, is to create a culture where people want to be a part of it, want to be a part of the team and the family. That's a tough thing sometimes too, because sometimes when you have to make tough decisions too, and you're making trades, and sometimes they're going to another club and they thought they wanted to be here too. So that's pro sports.
I mean, I would say from a corporate standpoint, right, I always struggle with the idea of treating like staff or part of our employees of your team as family versus team. And I think people have different sort of mindsets, right? Do we talk about our group as a team or as a family? Well, a family in many cases is like, hey, this is a family, and no matter rain or shine, we are who we are. And a team is much more performance driven, is much more about everyone playing both their role and contributing to different degrees. So I always like the sort of the team dynamic a little bit better for that reason. That sort of speaks some of those elements.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's something even over the last 5-6 years too, that we've all kind of evolved in that, right? Yeah. You go through COVID, like tough decisions are made and things had to happen, and that's family becomes a business, and then it gets hard, right? And then it's like, I think people see that, and we all feel it too. So I agree. Like team culture is what you have to build, because high performance and results is ultimately what
I would
wins.
even think for you guys, you kind of already touched on it. Instead of the makeup of the players, they're just much more international, right, compared to other leagues. And how does that change the complexity of recruitment, of drafting, of development, of even to your point, culture, right? When people are growing up, depending on where they're from, it's just a little bit of culture shock, I'm sure, once they get here, or join the the NHL.
Yeah, we have. I mean, they're all in this week for the draft, and we have 20 scouts that are deployed across the world, and we have scouts in Europe, scouts in Russia, scouts in Canada, all across Canada, all across the U.S., in the Nordics, and you have to deploy on that level. You also have to have really strong, analytics and tools for them to use, so it's not efficient for them to be watching hockey games and traveling around all the time. So, it's easy to deploy. It's not as easy to identify the talent and then get the right ones. I think, I don't know the stat right now, but it's a small percentage of hit on draft. And as we have 7 rounds in the draft in the NHL. It's really those top 3 rounds are the players that are going to make the biggest impact. And then, but if you get a strong impact player at round 4, 5, 6, and they make the NHL club and play 500 games, like that's amazing.
That's amazing,
right?
Yeah.
So, and we've had a strong track record of that, but we've also been really good in rounds 2 and 3.
Right.
Round 1's not as hard.
Yeah.
It
Right.
really
like
isn't.
The stars are the stars.
The stars are the stars. You want to make sure you don't miss in round 1. Sure. I think in the last 10 years we've done a good job of being like, all right, there's a band of probably 6 players, depending on how they get to you, that like if it's any of those 6, we're good.
Right.
But you're not going for the outlier and being like, all right, I'm going for the unicorn.
You're not looking for the Brock Purdy, who Mr. Irrelevant starting quarterback.
Yeah, that's you get those.
That's so rare. First of all,
you're gonna get those in later rounds.
Yeah.
And you're gonna try to draft character and skill, and maybe that that player develops into that impact.
How has data factored into that? Do you have some of that Moneyball kind of aspect that happened in baseball a little while back, also in hockey now? Because you guys track a lot of data of the players themselves. I mean, I was even talking about earlier with someone here from our team. I was sharing that when I went to the game, it really surprised me to see that you're tracking how much time each player is playing during the game, like to the second, which really speaks to how difficult of a sport it is, right? That you have to track it to that level. But I'm sure that gives you then tons of data in terms of performance and optimization of players and how to rest, et cetera, how much to push them.
Yeah,
and all of that.
There's no spies in here, right? No, we have a very advanced data system.
Yeah,
a very advanced data system on with our hockey analytics. I believe we have one of the best teams in the league running that for us, and I think we have 70 different pipelines of data that are going into the analysis into what makes up the player.
Yeah.
From the players that are on the current roster and how they're performing and how they're aligning and what are the key KPIs and how that's comparing to whether we're even going to make the playoffs or not, to how we're going to draft and what the makeup of that player is.
Sure.
And there's a lot that goes into it. It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, and I gotta imagine with AI, the predictive modeling of it has just gone significantly better, right?
Yep, absolutely, and integrated video work into it and all that is pretty phenomenal. So it's a talented group of people that we have, and we're very, very lucky to have them to make a lot of different decisions on a day-to-day basis.
So I guess to that point, for your role itself, tell me a little bit about what has been your evolution of how, like, what is your role now? And what is it meant to be in terms of running an organization like the Kings? How that's changed, even when as you were talking about COVID, right? Do we think about like what were all the changes in behavior from fandom to some of the technology playing a role of how you think about player development and who you recruit? For yourself in your role, how's that evolved?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been in this particular role now for 12 years as COO, and when I first started in the role as CEO of AEG Sports and on the Kings, is we had 12 teams that we had ownership interest in at AEG. Now we're down to 4. And so my role has evolved. I mean, my day-to-day focus is the Kings and our 3 hockey teams. So the Kings, Ontario Reign, and the Berlin Ice Baron. And that's my main day-to-day role. And then I have a group of people that have some shared services support and work with the Galaxy, and we work to correspond with them on a regular basis. So my role has evolved. My main focus on a day-to-day basis is give our people the resources to make the decisions that they can make, hire great people and get out of their way.
Sure.
And I've always viewed it that way.
Yeah.
And if we are organized and have the right resources in front of them, we all can generally be aligned and trusting on a plan, and then they can go execute. And then you can have some fun doing that and come up with some creative ideas and do some really cool things that are like feeding up the funnel and growing the fan base, and do some of the things that you and I have done over the years. We're like, test and try, let's see how this works and see what kind of impact it has. And you have the space to do that if you have your group properly aligned and running in good order. I like to be creative. I think we have a really, Brand's not behind me right now.
Yeah, but change it up on you just to keep on your toes.
I think we have one of the most iconic brands in sports history. So I think we like to have fun with it, and we've evolved it and do some really cool things that speak to LA.
I think to that point, when you and I first met, I mean, it had to be 2-3 years ago, maybe, right? Something
maybe,
like that.
yeah.
So I was running my sports company, and you know, we got a chance to sort of talk a lot of things that you guys were doing at the Kings. And I think one of the first things that I shared with you. So I'm born and raised here in LA, and you know, the Kings as a brand, as a lifestyle brand, has been so iconic to the city.
Yep.
How is that evolved for you, or how do you guys? I know you've done some stuff with Born and Raised, right? Done some collaboration with the Mr. Cartoon. I think he did some stuff with him as well. So you've definitely leaned into it. Where does that sort of fit right now within the broader strategy of the Kings and how you think about that brand and present it to the community?
Yeah, it's a big piece. I think, you know, as we evolved the brand and we went from, you know, kind of our, we call it the home plate logo of the LA with the crown, and that has a different story behind it than, you know, more of what's our kind of evolved chevron version from the 90s. And what was important for that is hearing and listening to the community as we really started sitting down and talking through with some of these collaborations before COVID. And we sat with some of these brands and the kids, and I call them kids because they're young and they're doing cool stuff. Like a good group. I mean, they're big now. The Kids of Immigrant group.
Sure.
You know, they had one of the hottest shoes last year, and I'm so proud of them. So we were meeting with them, you know, as they're just kind of coming up. And I remember Daniel on their team sat down with us at our practice facility, and we were talking about doing a collaboration, and you know, brought up a lot of the history of the Kings logos, and he's brought up our 90s one. And he goes, "That's the one." He's like, "That's the one that was important for my family." And I remember my grandmother, you know, sitting on the couch watching games on KCAL. You know, back in the 90s, and she'd never been to a hockey game, but she loved it. That's cool. He goes, it stuck with me till today as we went into the rebrand process. He goes, that's the one that speaks to all of LA.
Right.
And the reason is it says Los Angeles Kings. Right. It's important to say LA, but people understand and know what that brand is. And it had a moment in time in the 90s where it was the thing, right? And
I mean, in hip hop music, you would see it everywhere.
Yep.
You know, I think about, you know, an Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, like these guys were constantly rocking Kings hats. And is it a little bit of a blessing and a curse? Because it's so, because on the one hand, I think about it as like it's so tied to culture and fashion. And you have folks like what you just described who, the brand means something to them. They watch the game, so it's great, right? You associate with the brand, and then you're also consuming it. But you also have this other group that is a fashion statement more than anything else. And how do you think about those folks to turn from fashion statement to being engaging them as fans as well?
I think. Well, let me go back for a second and just one more example too. Like, we had a call with Cartoon 3 weeks ago because we're planning a drop for the fall with him, and he's like, I was on with him. I was like, hey, we did something with him in 2013, and I didn't get to work with him as direct back then. And I was like, Cartoon Man's like, I'm just honored you're on the call with us. It's not just your crew talking. He goes, you know, he's like, you have no idea. Like, I'm honored to be with you guys. Like,
that's great.
This was fashion. This was streetwear and fashion before streetwear and fashion.
Right.
And
that is true.
And that was like
cool.
that struck me. I'm like, man, this guy's like one of the biggest culture creators in LA. And you know, that's what it means to the community. So to answer the other question, like, they are connectors for us to create fans. And there's different ways to market and execute it. You know, when you drop the product in store, they gotta come to the arena, so that hopefully you get them to the game. I think what we've done really good job with in the last 3 years is our heritage product, where we do.
I want to talk about that.
You know, where we do designs and collaborations that aren't necessarily on. They're not like a brand like Born and Raised or whatever, but they're our own brand, and we do, you know, our Mexican heritage or Salvadoran or Japanese heritage, and it speaks specifically to that community. And they, you know, we can market into that community, and they generally will come to the game on those nights and pick up the product, and it just makes them want to, and more fans want to be there, and then
feel acknowledged as well, right?
And that's,
for
sure. Japanese heritage was one of the ones that kind of tripped on it, and from a merchandise perspective, one of our merch partners like, hey, look, I saw you guys have Japanese Heritage Night coming up on your group sales calendar. I want to mess with that. I want to make
an employer or a vendor?
It was one of our vendors, one of our designers. He's like, I want to design some merch around it. He's like, I think we do some cool stuff. I was like, all right, cool, go for it. And he made this amazing Japanese heritage product, and
awesome,
I think we had 600 units, and we brought it in, and we were like, all right, cool, see how it does. Sold out before the first period. Yeah. And it just blew up, and it was big on social, and like they were getting orders in all over the world.
Right.
And we're like, whoa, what just happened? And he's like, I think we struck a chord here, and we can do more. And we've built out of that. And what we heard, to your point, from a lot of our Japanese season ticket holders was we're seeing like, you don't know what it means as a fan of the Kings that's from Japanese heritage to be able to buy a sweatshirt that has the Kings and Japanese heritage connected together.
Sure. And
it just has blown up. And now you see the Dodgers and everybody, we're all doing it, right? So and that's what LA is about, right? Is everybody kind of protecting and growing and maybe copying, and
that's okay. I mean, that's part of it, right? Look, and I would say even my perspective of that has changed quite a bit, because I would say when I remember seeing some of those back in the day, sometimes they felt a little transactional, or like it's basically a marketing strategy to get people to show up, right? And but they didn't really feel like they were authentic to those communities. But I would say, like, the stuff that you guys did, the stuff that the Dodgers do, I think what's unique about it is that they do like tap into culture really well. It's also frankly a great testament to you guys for just being open to the idea of experimenting. Sometimes brands are so like careful about no, like this is very, very protective. We don't want to mess with it.
Don't want to change the colors. Don't want to.
Like we have to talk to 50 different people in order to just do any little change. So I think it speaks to the power of experimentation and getting out there. The other thing that I think about is what it probably does as well. It taps into subcultures, right? Because even when you think about Japanese culture, anime within Japanese culture, it's this whole other movement that, by the way, translates really well with other cultures, right? There's big Latino fan bases that love Japanese culture. We've seen the same thing with pop music, Korean pop music, right? That has kind of taken over, and there's so many other communities beyond Koreans who love that music. And when you recognize and are able to attach yourselves to those movements, I think it becomes a really interesting like evolution that can happen from that, right? So I think that's part of the beauty of it. As you think about that fandom and how it's evolved, how are you guys thinking about keeping that connection? So we talked about lifestyle, but look, I mean, fandom now is such a distributed fandom experience, right? The way that people engage with the game itself has evolved tremendously, right? From the live viewing to social content to lifestyle to creator content that maybe not even necessarily be showing the game, but it's all related to the fandom. How are you guys thinking about tapping into those movements and responding to that evolution in fandom and the way people consume the sport?
Yeah, it's reach, relevancy, revenue is kind of our approach. So we want to be in places where we can develop strategies that can gain reach, and then eventually it can translate into a ticket buyer or a lifetime fan. But it has to start from doing something that's like not transactional. Right. So having 10 games on Spanish radio for 10 years now. Like it's interesting. It's like it's hard to translate that into be like, all right, what did we actually gain in terms of transactional revenue? Well, I'll tell you what it is. Our Hispanic fan base has gone from 16% to 41%.
That's awesome.
Like that's in
what time period?
That's over about 8 to 10 years. I'm just like,
that's great.
Like that's unbelievable growth, right? So, and that's first party data, not like
Right.
you know, the
That's
YouGov, the YouGovs and
Yeah.
you know, the Nielsen datas that we all are like, is that right or wrong?
Yeah,
No, this is
don't get us
first party
started.
appended. You know, we're not going to go down those other measurement sources here. But like that's first party appended data. Like we know it. Then we see it.
Right.
Right. You see it at the games, and you see the growth, and then we measure it. You know, so when we do all these programs, like we have a great analytics team on our business side too that says, all right, what did this night result in? How many new fans were added to our database? What pipelines did they come into?
Right.
And then it says, was it worth it?
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
You know, you put a lot of effort, you think it was a great idea, and
is there anything that comes to mind that you'll be open to share of like something?
No.
All right, fair enough.
No, I'm not going to tell you the ones that weren't worth it.
What about some of the ones that were? How about that? Is there anything? I mean, clearly the Heritage Nights.
The Heritage Nights are
really well.
are definitely.
I was there a few years back when you had Dia de Muertos night.
Yep.
And it was awesome.
Yep.
It was awesome. It was just a great experience, and it really felt part of the game experience as well.
Yep.
Very well celebrated, and people just light up. And it's not just, I mean, the truth, I mean, you and I talked about this. Look, when I think about the LA Kings or Los Angeles Kings, I think of that the Los Angeles piece means a lot to that combination, right? And when you think about LA culture, by definition, is very much driven by Latino culture. And the more you lean into that, the fact that LA is, like, Latinos are a core part of our city, of our culture, and bring that into the game experience, like that's all you really need. And that, I think, activates people. You know, because you see, I remember being at the game, and a bunch of kids were wearing the, what was it that they had? Because my daughter didn't get one initially, and then someone gave it to, what was it that you guys were giving out? You guys gave out something, I forgot what it was.
Yeah, 2 years ago, I can't remember.
Yeah, I forgot. It was a takeaway, but I forgot whatever it was. She didn't have it, but there was a bunch of kids wearing them.
Yeah.
And not all of them were Latinos, but they all loved it.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a big part of it. And a lot of them are celebrating in their schools, so this is like a core part to what they're used to.
Yeah, Dia's one that like speaks to all families now, right?
It does,
you know, like
it's like and especially with Coco, it became very mainstream. So it's one where, and it's about remembering your family, honoring your your heritage, and like that's an idea that translates extremely well to anyone.
Yeah, and I think what's important on those nights is that we tell the story, right? And we've done a good job with that with Dia. You know, to have the story told as like what it means and what does it mean to the community to celebrate this, and why, you know my kids who aren't Hispanic, you know, are like, all right, well, this is how, you know, what it means for my family, you know, and you know, they can talk to their cousins who are half Hispanic and like, you know what it means to the community, right? And and they learn, but then it's also part of the game and the celebration, and of course you hope you win the game, and it's like people walk away and go, oh my God, that was amazing, because you guys know, I mean, you know, like our game experience is like second to none.
Yeah,
like
it really is.
Live experience at a National Hockey League game, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
You know, we all love Dodgers games. You know, we like Lakers games, but it's like, all right, well, that's awesome when they score a 3-pointer with 1 minute to go. And like, that was amazing. Well, everything before that was way different, right?
Sure.
9 innings of baseball with, you know, a game-winning home run, like it's different. And credit to them, like it's just different. Hockey's constant action.
Well, I think
with like those amazing hits and moments.
Well, what's wild about it, and this was, I think I told you that after the first game that I went to, I'm like, the level of intensity in a hockey game is like, I came out sweating. Like this thing is like, oh my God. It was like the whole thing is just amped up the entire time.
Yeah.
But that's actually, I mean, to your point about how awesome the game experience is in person, it is one of the challenges because it doesn't translate well to television.
No.
When you see that. So even from there, like what are some of the things that you guys have thought of? I know there was like a while back where they had like the glowing hockey, you know, puck. Has there been any other sort of evolution or innovation that you guys have thought about to try to bring some of that out?
Yeah,
that it is such a like great experience?
Yeah, so they've done more of that now. They call it player puck tracking. So there's a tracker in the puck and a tracker on the player. So you'll see that more in broadcast. It's a mixed bag review, just like it was with Fox back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
You know, is it the answer? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I think some of the animated broadcasts that have happened are really good.
Yeah.
You know, they did a great thing with Disney a couple years ago with, you know, the animated broadcast, which is like volumetric capture of the players and you know, animation.
I mean, there's been a lot of experimentation with that, right? Like, was it the NFL that was like the Nickelodeon?
Yeah, NFL did Nickelodeon. They also did The Simpsons last year.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, so there's.
I don't know how I feel about any of those. What do you think of those?
Look, they actually. I think for you and I, we're like, right, because we're diehard sports fans, and we're I'm kind of distracted right now. I'm not real interested, but you know, the performance of them from a pure measurement standpoint is they reach new audiences.
Yeah, so that by itself makes it worthwhile.
And that's what all sports really need to do is like get to that next generation.
Sure.
And I think, you know, what we're now seeing is with the evolution of media, you know, and the changing of cable and paid and all that, it's like you have to be in a lot of different places with your content.
Sure.
I think you're seeing the broadcasters and stuff like lean more into fast, where you know the next gen is at. Like I don't think, you know, our kids are going to be paying for cable. I mean, I hope I'm okay in saying that here in this, but
I mean, get yelled at, but we should be fine.
But you know, I think we all need to be on fast, but we need to also be on cable, right? So like, we also need to be on over the air, and I think that's where the strategy is hitting, and we all need to have, you know, our cut down content on social, and that's where it gets challenging, right? Because that's delivering your content in a lot of different places.
It is.
But you need to be where the next group is at while you're still serving your core.
We talk about it a lot, you know. Part of a bit of our focus has been is an evolution of how we think about content creation, distribution, how those formats evolve depending on the platform.
Yep.
And it's not even about being digital first necessarily, but it's about being multi-platform.
Right.
And intention about multi-platform, right? We have cases more and more, and we had a situation today of some news story that came out, literally a rumor that's being spread that needs to be quickly shut down, and our news team is jumping on it. And it was great because I asked the question, hey, if this is going off on TikTok, like let's do a reaction video on TikTok to make sure that we are giving the accurate information in the place people are consuming it. Because if we just do it in our newscast and people are watching on TV, they may not be seeing it over here on TikTok where it's like blowing up, right? And I was superly, pleasantly, just very happy. The team was already done it. They're already on it. I'm like, awesome. And that's the idea, right? Like, we are going to talk about our newscast. We are going to talk about it in our television, over-the-air broadcast. We're going to put that on YouTube, the long form. We're going to do cut-down reaction video on Instagram and TikTok. And is it more work? Absolutely. But it's part of, I think, what we need to do in terms of being in the right places, having the right conversations with folks. And then all the meetings that have to come with it, you know, to be able to engage with those audiences.
Yeah, it's hard work, right? And you have to measure it and think about what impact is. But look at how, you know, you can go on Pluto TV now on your app. I was just in Berlin visiting our team 2 weeks ago, and you know, we've been working with Pluto a little bit, so I spent a lot of time on it, and I had Pluto on my phone, and I streamed it right to my TV, and I watched KCAL News.
Nice.
Right, and then, but I also could choose from 25 news channels across the U.S. that are all like, they have their news, you know, all on fast now, and like, so then I can take Los Angeles anywhere with me, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So, but you know, we all have to like be evolving with that, study it, and be open to it. And those platforms are going to have to do that too. But they're growing. I mean,
what does that do in terms of as you think about growth areas for your fan base? Is it about getting more LA like LA natives or LA, not just natives, just people in LA to be fans of the Kings is about getting the Kings brand beyond the borders of LA, and the fact that it's so much more accessible everywhere else. The fact that the sport itself is already so international.
Yep.
How do you guys think about that, and where the pockets of growth come from?
Yeah, so we have to be LA first, right? So we have to. I mean, our core revenue still is ticket sales, right? So we have to be LA first and focused in on that. And what's really unique about Los Angeles, more so probably than the Canadian markets, and just going through like our board of governors meeting presentation, there was a an hour presentation from Deloitte on our international strategy yesterday, which was really interesting. But and I'll get into that. But what's interesting about us in LA every night is like there's 4,000, 5,000 people. And this is me making up a number, but there's a large number of people at our game every night that are coming to their first hockey game. And we have to capture that. So I want them to walk away going, what the heck was that?
Right. As they're wiping sweat from their face, right? Because it's like, what the hell was that?
Where's the app?
Right.
Follow them on Instagram. And maybe go down to the store and get a sweatshirt, or I can market, bounce back market to them like, hey, do these things, here's 20% off a sweatshirt at Team LA store.
Right.
And that's, by the way, it's a cool sweatshirt. Right?
Yeah.
So,
agree.
Like that's where our opportunity is every night in LA. And it's what has built our fan base from 1967. Nobody knew what the heck this was here when Jack Kent Cooke brought hockey to LA at the Forum in 1967. But there was a core group of probably expats and Canadians and stuff that kind of started following the team. And then it just has blossomed. And if you look actually at our data from our league-wide surveys compared to other NHL teams, so like introduction to hockey, and it'll be like, here's the 10 different ways you got introduced to hockey. And I'll just take brought or introduced by a friend. And I'm making these numbers up just because I can't remember them right now, but I'll give you like a skew of where it'd be. The NHL average will be 10%. The Los Angeles Kings is 23. Right? And that, I think that's a culture of LA, and it's different. And I've made this speech in the community, a million times. Like, that's what's built the LA Kings fan base.
Sure.
You're like, this is dope. Let me, you got to come.
Also, my sense
you got to bring. You got to come to the game with me. And then they're like, whoa.
Right.
That was that. What was that? And now they're fans, and it just grows and it grows and it grows, and then they go to their Christmas party and they're like, their friends will be like, hey, what are you up to this week? And they're like, I'm going to a Kings game. Like, what is that? And then they're like, they defend themselves. I'm a hockey fan, like, because they're defending themselves. So they're strong fans, like. They have to defend themselves as hockey fans in LA.
I've heard that multiple times. Well, not to defend themselves, more that those that are fans are fans.
Yes.
Like, unlike basketball is probably the best example, where you have a lot of folks that, fair weather fans, they'll show up for the celebrity aspect of it, or maybe the case, but that's not hockey, right? Like, hockey people are going because they're like hardcore fans.
Yeah, and in LA, like, this fan base for 60 years almost is like they're defending themselves as like, why I'm a hockey fan.
Sure.
But there's a lot of them, and and then they bring a friend, and that friend becomes the defensive hockey fan.
Right.
And it's just different. It just is, and it's what's built our brand. Right. It's what's built our team and our core fan base. It's why we sell out games, and in a very difficult city to market and sell in. But we're very, very lucky that we have that passionate fan base that helps us do our job.
Yeah. And you were going to get into global. So globally, what does that look like for you guys?
Yeah. So we've always been a team that's willing to go global. We were the first team to play in London, and we're the first team to play in Australia. We played in Germany. We played in Sweden. We played in China. So, us as an international company at AEG, like we like to go to places that are, generally we can get to arenas that we operate our own and create that experience in those countries. And that does take our brand out there, and it's a global reach brand. And you know,
have you seen some dividends already from some of those efforts?
Yeah, you know, that's a harder one to measure, right? Because we have international reach with our broadcast deals, not the Kings, but the NHL, and you don't get those ratings and numbers. But you know, I'll take China was a good example. Like when the NHL was exploring the opportunity to go to China, and it was 2017, I think it was when we went to China. You know, we were like, all right, well, tell us a little bit about it, what the opportunity, and everybody had their eyes on, you know, the Winter Olympics, and you know, there's all these stories about, you know, the Chinese government was going to build hundreds of ice rinks in China, and there's all these opportunities to grow the brand, and if you get 1% of China, you're going to get.
Everyone thinks of that as of course.
So there's all that, and we're like, well, yeah, but we got to go 30 hours to go play 2 hockey games. Like, what's it mean?
Yeah.
And they said to us, you know, through data, again, they're like the LA Kings jersey, because it says LA and people, you know, connect it back to culture, is that one of the #1 jerseys sold in China.
Wow.
So we're like, all right. And we had, you know, AEG, we have an arena in Shanghai, and you know, had operated the arena in Beijing. So, you know, we're like, all right, let's go. Yeah. So a little harder to measure, but you know, there are opportunities to make an impact.
I mean, clearly for the NBA, that was a winning strategy.
Yeah, for sure.
As they leaned hard into global and getting the game out there, China was a huge market for them, and it's really paid off. That was going to be actually my thought, is that with LA Kings being, to a lot of us, and to everyone I think, being such a lifestyle brand already, and having the coolness factor of being an LA brand, and it has all street credibility you could possibly take. I mean, I'm sure if we did a survey, how many rap songs include the Kings as part of it? Maybe you guys have done that, but I'm sure it's a lot of them.
That's actually interesting.
You should know that. I think it'll be a cool thing. I'm sure you guys ChatGPT, see what it says. That could be the angle in some of these markets that are where American culture, and specifically street culture, is already being exported at a pretty high degree. Where that could be a good entry point for the Kings.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, like any brand, you want to be cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you can be cool, and then succeed and be successful, and then you know you're gonna get kids, you're gonna get adults. You're gonna be
cool and then be good. That's a good combination. Yeah.
So
what about with AEG? Obviously, you're part of. You guys own a broader entertainment portfolio. Yep. How much do you leverage that? Like, what are some of the things that you gain from, leverage as it relates to the broader entertainment?
Yep. And
maybe you could talk a little bit about what is that, some of that portfolio that you guys have.
Sure. So, you know, AEG, we're a mix of different divisions. So we have our music division, which is AEG Presents and Golden Voice. So we run Coachella and Stagecoach.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think we have like 100 and some festivals globally now. You know, the New Orleans Jazz Fest, like some of those iconic ones as well. So, you know, British Summertime Festival, like big stuff, right?
Yeah.
But then they have, you know, in the music division, they have an unbelievable touring division. I mean, last year we had, you know, Taylor Swift and Ed Sheeran, in the portfolio.
Some minor shows.
Yeah. So, and we've had those over the years, right? So, so that's the music division. We have our global partnerships division that runs, you know, sells and leverages the brand across the entire portfolio, selling, you know, sponsorships and partnerships and premium seating in all our venues. We have our venues group, so we have arenas in London, Berlin, you know, Los Angeles, Shanghai, you know, and partnerships and you know, in Japan now, and lots of different places. It used to be a bigger division, and we actually sold off a large part of it from ASM Global. But we still have the core real estate assets, Dignity Health Sports Park, where the Galaxy are at. Then we have, you know, sports, and that's kind of where it's where our focus. Right. And then we also own ticketing, so Access Ticketing is our own ticketing business. So. Well, a great story Mr. Anschutz, Phil Anschutz, our owner, said to me a number of years ago is, you know, one of the ways that he made his money over the years, he's one of the largest shareholders of Union Pacific Railroad. And, he was into oil, and those were kind of his core pieces at that time. And then he took the railroad and he put the fiber optics along the railroad, and he built Quest Communications, and turned that into billions. And
right.
He said to me, Kelly, the way I look at AEG is all the facilities are the railroad. That's the tracks. And sports, music, you guys are the content, so you're the train going down the tracks to fill the railroad.
I love that, yeah.
And that was a great way to think about
Sure.
how are we doing this and doing it together, and making sure that we're trying to move everybody down the track together, and that's who we are.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. To that point, live experience themselves are evolving pretty significantly. What are some of the tech innovation that you guys are seeing already, using already? What's kind of in the horizon in terms of development? I even think about things like VR and AR. I mean, VR at this point, you could think of even with Apple. What was it called? The Apple Vision.
Yep, Apple Vision Pro.
Was a little bit of a dud at this point. Having said that, some of the experiences were really cool.
Yeah, really cool.
So, what's been the evolution there? Where do you guys see it, and what are you guys already doing?
Yeah, those are hard answers, right? I think you kind of started answering it when you say AR, VR, and we're like, is it really there yet, right? There's a lot of really, really cool things, and great filters and things. And I think this social digital app phone first is still kind of where it's at. And the immersive experiences are very cool when you get them at the venues. But it's still, sometimes it's like, that's an experience that 1 or 10 people are in, right? So it's still, I think, mobile first is where everything's at, and how we're leveraging that to create a great fan experience, and taking the simple approaches. Like, we made a massive Wi-Fi upgrade at Crypto last year, and making sure that everything works for everybody.
Which is a big issue a lot of times.
Right. So I think a lot of times the aspects around the fan experience start with making sure that the roads are laid right first. We're doing a lot of things now around, from the way that people access parking to their ability to upgrade, and looking at the fan journey. And that's, I think, where it's almost like second nature as to what the experience is from a technology perspective.
Right.
And looking at that first as what, let the fan drive what the experience is.
Right.
I don't think we have, great answers in all that yet. I mean, made massive upgrades with our video board last year. I think it's really well received. But then what do you do with it? And how does your team use it to have great technology experiences?
Sure.
So that's a wishy-washy way to maybe tell you, I don't know.
You're right.
But I think we're all suited to test and try, and then you're going to catch on. I think the natural answer is AI is powerful for what sports can do with it, from the way that we can market to the way that we can drive experiences, the way we can identify fans, to the way that we can measure what's going on with our players and what kind of content we can do. And I think the way that we can harness that will be really powerful, but I don't know what those answers are.
Yeah, I think I've seen different versions of gamification people are trying to do within the stadium experience, and a little bit of hit and miss. Some of the tried and true, hide the ball, hide the puck, and then find it sure, but those almost feel gimmicky and probably not really the answer. Maybe there's okay to keep people distracted while a timeout is taking place. I think that's okay. Intuit has the whole, I don't know if you've seen their little, which feels like a lot of technology for something that maybe there's a foundation for something much bigger at some other point, but right now it feels highly underutilized in my mind, having a whole physical device for something that that happens only a couple times during the game, and it's not really clear to me that that's worth the kind of investment. What about more like live experiences? So have you been to Cosm or the Sphere?
Yeah, those are good examples.
What do you think about those now? You know, because part of the challenge, right, is getting people into the stadium. Then there's like, well, when you can't get to the stadium, can we get people to places that feel like you're in the actual game experience?
Cosm's a great example. We did a lot of work with Cosm, actually. We have a partnership with the NHL with Cosm Direct on developing some special camera technology that kind of goes within the boards.
Oh, nice.
Actually, like a little strip camera that goes, on the cap of the boards.
So is that for like playoff games, or what is like, when have you guys utilized that for?
We used it in the playoffs this past year.
Nice.
We actually, Kings, we had 2 games at Cosm during the first round, and then we had a number of games. Almost all the NHL playoff games were at Cosm here in LA. So I think that type of like content capture and innovation is really where it can be powerful. I think in general, cameras is a great point of view in terms of evolution of technology.
Sure.
All the player puck tracking stuff we do is all via cameras and venues, and that's like volumetric capture to build these animations from. So like that's kind of like this behind the scenes stuff that goes on, and then there's like extreme advanced analytics on that we can use for hockey and measurement, but you can also take that and like develop immersive player captures that you can put into social or into other content. And I think that's the type of stuff is like, it'll be good to test and try that. I mean, everybody talks about the second screen or the alt cast, and what we could do and where we could put that. You can try those things and see what hits.
Yeah, I mean, 10 years ago, a buddy of mine was already building like AR tech. And he had a bunch of different use cases. One of them was where they were building video experiences to help with recruiting of players for college football programs. And what they would do is they'll do like a kind of fish lens, but like a 360 kind of camera. And they would record this thing of a player going into a huddle in locker room, going to the game, and you're basically turning your phone and you're seeing a 360 degree kind of view, right? And but it's all like kind of like one video feed. The other one I thought was interesting, and I'm surprised it hasn't taken more hold, maybe it just is one of those things that is gimmicky and cool, but you never go back to it, is that they were doing data overlays on AR during baseball games. So in baseball, it's a little bit easier because you know what the lineup is, you know who's on what base, and you could basically put your phone up over a game, and it just tells you who's on which base, stats, etc. There was a lot of data that we're kind of pulling in, but I haven't seen any like real rollout of that. And I thought it was really cool what he was doing, and Frank, I'm not sure why it never really took off beyond that, or anyone else has done something similar.
Yeah, I think you're seeing a big push towards, what's the step towards sports betting. I mean, we know California, like we're not quite there yet. Yeah. So you're seeing more of the FanDuels and DraftKings like get into that, like, kind of step to fan betting. I think that's going to get into like those overlays. Yeah. There's some great stuff that I've seen out there where there's like these overlay games on the live broadcast, and you're kind of, you're not betting, but you're picking. Right. Like, all right, who's going to win the face-off? But it's over the live broadcast and can be an augmented, or on the Apple Vision Pro or something like that. But haven't seen it roll out yet in a way, but I think it's coming, and then it gets into bridging off of that camera that we're doing with Cosm and using those tools in a way that's like more than the 600 people that are Cosm can go out of Cosm, and that's what's really, really cool. Because
that may be the one place where the actual game experience can be pretty reflective of being there in person, maybe even enhanced, right? Because you're
awesome. Like, Cosm for a hockey game was like, it blew me away the first time that I went. Right. And seeing some of the other stuff like UFC and even the U.S. Open, and just seeing the way that sports fans go to those venues. I mean, they get Premier League games at 7 a.m. and they're packing fans from Liverpool in there, like,
Yeah.
and then they turn it over for a noon,
Sure.
NBA game, and then they got art thing, at 2 o'clock. Like, it's pretty cool.
I think it also speaks to big trend, which is people like to do things in community. There's like the communal experience with you with other fans. I mean, even like when you go see a film that has like a big following to it, and it's just more fun with the people that enjoy it, right? So it kind of taps into that.
Comfortable, good food, good beer.
Yeah, exactly. So before we wrap up, I want to do like 3 final questions for you. Okay, one is we've talked a lot about innovation, right? And kind of how the game itself, the league, the technology. What's sort of your philosophy for culturally within AEG, within the sports division, driving innovation? Kind of what's sort of your frame of how you try to encourage the team, get out of the way when needed, recognize opportunities? Just give me a little bit of that framework.
Yeah, I think, my predecessor in my role, Chris McGowan, who's, went on, he was the president of the Trailblazers, president of the Detroit Red Wings and Tigers and MLS, just left MLS and started his own group. Like, he always did a good job of driving us every day, and our bosses, our CEOs, like, we're like, test and try, like, be okay. It's okay to fail as long as you have a plan, and you can come back and check against that plan. Like, we want to push our people to try things and innovate, and 1 out of 10 may hit.
Yeah.
As long as we know what the main thing is, and we realize that, like, the core of what we're doing right now has to drive back to filling that venue, getting eyeballs, the tune on TV, and getting partners to engage with us. Like, it's okay to try some things in a different way, and it doesn't always have to look the same. So we like to build that culture of innovation around that, and just be creative with it.
Yeah,
so.
Love that. We're big on terms of supporting entrepreneurship, small businesses, and to that point, you've had a great career already, Kelly. What's one lesson that you would share to people who may be earlier in their career, who may be trying to build their business, who may just need a little bit of encouragement or just perspective of how to continue to push forward?
It's a great question. I mean, this is probably very cliche, but don't be afraid to fail. I think as long as you have a good idea and you put a strong plan together, and at the end of the day, you can say, like, I put everything into that moment, and I had a plan to execute against. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, you still gave it that effort, and you had a strong plan and executed against it. I think that's the biggest thing, is like, just be thinking about, like, you're gonna fail, but at some point you're gonna succeed, and that's what you have to do. I mean, I first started in this business, delivering group hats on game nights at Dodger Stadium for $5 an hour, and then just kind of networked my way up, and then worked for the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes as a marketing manager, and half the time you had to be the mascot, like, which was awesome. Like, I actually still, like, to this day, like, some of my favorite things.
Long for those days sometimes, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, doing hospital visits for kids in a mascot outfit where you can dance and make them laugh. It's like that's the good
awesome.
times, and like
there's no shame in any of that. That's awesome. Yeah, you get great perspective.
The back, coming out the other side is like, that journey might feel long ways away.
Right.
But as long as you have that plan, you execute, you try, you work hard, and that's one of the key things now, is you have to work hard.
Yeah.
You have to put that effort in, and I think we've seen maybe some willingness to take shortcuts, just use tools, but you have to put that effort in and find a different way to work hard.
Effort, though.
No, and I think that's, maybe that's a little old school of me at times, but I think no matter what evolution we're going to go through, planning, hard work, passion, is what's going to make you succeed.
For sure.
And being a good person.
Yeah, I like that. All right, final one.
All right.
One prediction that we can look back 6 months from now, a year from now, whether it's the industry, the team, just one prediction you see. Yeah.
One prediction. Jeez. I don't know if I'm Nostradamus. I think I'm gonna go with Cosms because it's hot top of mind.
Yeah.
I think that type of content is gonna grow outside of that physical venue, and will start getting into new areas of reach that will grow the business. And that's the type of effort and work that'll bring people inside the game in a way that we've all been longing for.
Yeah.
And we've seen those AR, VR, like on the field, behind the quarterbacks, like, but nobody's really executed it consistently enough.
Right.
And the data power that's happening behind that, and that's where AI and stuff I think really comes in. Like you don't even know what's happening. That's when that type of work is going to translate into growth.
Yeah.
And I think that would be my core prediction is the growth of that type
cool.
of behind
And I think
the
to your
scenes.
point about Cosm, what's interesting is, and maybe what's been the missing element is the communal part.
Yep.
Because you're at the Vision Pro, very isolated.
Yeah.
You think about even back in the day, the 3D televisions, like.
Yep.
I think having that technology, but being able to do it in an immersive manner with other people, I think that's might be the difference.
Have you watched the sports game on
no,
Apple Vision Pro?
So, Apple Vision Pro, I did. So I watched a little bit of MLS on Apple Vision Pro. Very, very cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
It's very cool, but you feel I feel like you're
so
like in
isolated.
Space.
I actually had a really like strong personal reaction to it. I had was like the first couple months of Apple Vision Pro. We had a couple provided to us to test and try. And I sat down and I watched the game on it on my couch and it was kind of like laying there. I think I was probably watching it, I'm going to say like 30 minutes. And then I was like, all right, took it off, and my daughter's sitting next to me. And I was pure depressed. I was like, my daughter was just sitting next to me for 30 minutes, and I had no idea.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, it was like it actually was like a cognitive reaction.
Yeah.
And that's why I would worry about what that is, because I don't think we want anything like that to happen to the next generation. Like the power of the brain can be, we're seeing it with social, and like we know that like we're feeding our kids dopamine through like quick scrolls and like that, the endless scroll.
Yeah.
Like how can we still get to that passion and fan base and serve through that, but like it's not the addiction to it.
Sure.
And that's I think what I would hope we can do.
That may have to be part 2, Kelly.
Yeah.
Good. Awesome. Appreciate you being here, Kelly.
I went deep on it.
Thanks, man.
All right.